Hey guys! Today we're going to be learning how to transform a normal t-shirt into a summer crop top. It's really simple. We'll just be using a t-shirt and about 6 to 9 inches of ribbing depending on how thick you want the bands to be around the sleeves and around the bottom. So yeah, let's get started. For this project, you're going to need a ruler, fabric scissors, chalk, some ribbing, whichever color goes best with your chosen t-shirt, and a t-shirt. We picked this one up at Salvation Army. If you have an old one laying around, whatever you'd like. So to begin, you want to take your measurement of how long you want it to be. And that'll all depend on how long your torso is. So I measure starting from where the bottom of the sleeve is, or where the bottom of the arm curve is, and then measure down on yourself where you'd like the bottom to fall, and then you mark that. So for mine, I have a really short torso, so I'm going to mark mine at 6 inches. You mark it on this side. Now that you've got that, well, also you want to take into consideration how thick you want your ribbing to be. So if you want your entire crop top to be 8 inches down from the bottom of the arm curve, then if you want 2-inch ribbing, then you'll cut this down 6 inches and then add the 2-inch ribbing on top of it. So you will have to take that into consideration. Now also you can either cut right along the arm curve seam line and cut that out to make it a tank top crop top, or another option is you can cut along the sleeve at any length and make it a capped crop top, a capped sleeve crop top. For today's tutorial, we're just going to be cutting along the seam line and adding the ribbing onto that, so it's going to be a tank top, but whatever you feel like doing. So we're just going to go ahead and cut this out and then get onto the ribbing. Moving on to the ribbing. This is where you're going to decide how thick you want it to be. For today's, we are going to want this to be 1.5, and that will be folded over. So when we're cutting it out, we're going to want to cut it out at double the length. So it's going to be 3 inches for the bottom. And then to determine the length of, how long you'll need it. It does depend on the kind of ribbing you get, but generally 3/4 of the way across will be good. So this is about 16 inches. It's a little under, but that's okay. So we're just going to divide that into 4s and then take 3/4, which is 12. So also this ribbing is in a tube. So both edges are folded over. Some ribbing comes like that, some don't. So you just have to be aware what kind of ribbing you're working with and where the fold is. So we're just going to measure this over 12. Mark that. And then for the arms, I like to do them a little bit thinner than the bottom. So I'm going to make it I'll just do 1 inch shorter. So instead of doing 3 inches, I'll do 2 inches. So fold it over, that'll be 1 inch ribbing around the arms. And then we'll just take 3/4 of that arm measurement also, which these armholes are 14 inches all around. So our ribbing is going to be 10.5 inches for each one. So we can just measure 10.5 inches across on the fold. And then when we do that, once we've got that cut out, we'll just snip the fold there and we'll have 2 separate pieces that are 10.5 inches long. All right, we'll go ahead and cut this. All right, on to sewing on the ribbing. Now you'll want to make sure that you sew the right sides of the ribbing together. And the way to figure that out is just to stretch both sides of the ribbing, look at both sides while you stretch it. And one side you'll be able to see a little bit of shine, and that's the wrong side of the fabric. You'll be able to see the elastic through there. So whichever side you can't see the elastic, you want to put those sides together and then sew along the edge there. Today we're using a serger, but sewing machine serger, it doesn't matter. Once you've serged your pieces together, you'll want to turn them right side out and then fold them in half. So these are the armholes, so they're going to be the short ones. You can stick a pin through there just to keep it from flopping all over the place. So do that with all of them. And then, once you've got them folded to the right side out and ready to be attached, you will take your ribbing right side out and match up the seam to the underarm curve seam. So here goes down here. That way it won't be as easy to see while you're wearing the shirt. So you'll want to put the ribbing on the outside of the shirt and just go ahead and pin that there and make a few pinpoints around it so that it stays in place while you sew. Here's the finished product. Now, if you'd like to do matching ribbing around the neckline, you can totally do that also and just follow the same steps for that, about 3/4 of the length of the hole. Also, if you'd like to top stitch along the top there, or along the ribbing, that's an option too. Yeah, just play around with the different colors of ribbings, matching with your shirts, contrasting, and this is about what it'll look like. All right, here's the finished product. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to keep your eyes open for our next video. Thanks, guys.